and how this is affecting different countries, and one of them being Kenya, even as the government confirmed yesterday that we have 7 people confirmed to have this virus and many others still under investigations and being quarantined in the different hospitals that have been put apart for that purpose. Now we shall touch base with some of the regions in the country, starting with Nairobi County. Kennedy Mureithi will be speaking to us on how we are prepared as a city for COVID-19 or the imminent threat of COVID-19. And of course, Mombasa County is also another one that is top of mind. And Kevin Mutai will be giving us a brief from that end in a moment. For now, 200 taps have been installed at the Likoni crossing channel for commuters to wash their hands before and after disembarking from the vessels. Kevin Mutai now joins us from the Likoni. Kevin, are the people cooperating and is hand washing going on as required?
Well, good afternoon, Gladys. From today henceforth, it is mandatory for everyone boarding the vessel to wash their hands before crossing the channel. This is one of the preventive measures that was introduced by the county government of Mombasa and the Kenya Ferry Services, amongst other institutions who've been part and parcel of this exercise to ensure, or rather protect the vulnerable against the COVID-19. Remember, this is happening from both sides of the channel, both the island and the mainland, where 100 taps have been installed in both sides. And of course, also one thing that we're learning as well is that the county government of Mombasa is conducting sensitization campaigns in slum areas, and of course going door-to-door campaign, conducting door-to-door campaigns, sensitizing the public against the coronavirus. Let me just quickly join in Bakari Goa, who is the managing director at the Kenya Ferry Services. Bonamdi, what are some of the challenges that you're encountering when it comes to implementing this measure?
Yeah, as you can see, we have high volumes of people, especially for the hand washing exercise. So maintaining the social distance is that was our key objective right now. So we are sensitizing people because we have 100 taps here to avoid overcrowding on the first few taps, so that they move and spread over across the other taps. So, but again, we can see a lot of cooperation for people. Most of the people are doing the exercise, are performing the exercise, which is good for what we intended to achieve by the end of the day.
And how are you managing that there will be sufficient supply of water as well as the soaps for them to wash their hands?
Yeah, for water, we have partnered with Mombasa Water Services, and they are going to supply us a total of 10 trucks. Each truck carries around 16,000 liters, which will be sufficient for the hand washing. Again, we partnered with Red Cross and Haki Africa. These ones have promised to supply soap, and you can see we have enough here for the hand washing exercise. Okay.
Well, of course, also Gladys, the Kenya Ferry Services is conducting another way of ensuring that even motorists are asked to participate in this process, and those who are capable of even buying their own sanitizers to do so before boarding the ferry. Remember that ferries are the only mode of transport of connecting both sides, the mainland and the island, and it is approximately 1,500 people per ferry crossing the channel, and per day it is approximated there are at least over 300,000 people daily crossing here at the ferry channel in Mombasa. So we'll be monitoring this exercise, and we'll be speaking to different stakeholders, the county, the health officials, and of course get a preview of other things that they're doing in order to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Back to you, Gladys.
In Mutai coming to us from Mombasa County, even as we get to understand how residents of that county are protecting themselves from contracting COVID-19. As you've seen, there has been an increase in water points for residents to wash their hands regularly, as it has been recommended to keep the virus at bay. Back in the city, and the Nairobi City County and the Ministry of Health today began a fumigation exercise of social joints within the capital with an aim of reducing the spread of the coronavirus. The The exercise, which began early Thursday morning, saw officials from the ministry and the city county spray disinfectant on surfaces mostly used and frequently by residents. Bar stations like Kencom area, as well as businesses along busy streets of the capital, were the first to be fumigated in an exercise the county says will be an ongoing one. Officials say the drive is also aimed at sanitizing the city from bacterium, virus and other disease-causing microorganisms. The exercise comes a day after the country reported additional cases of the virus, with figures released by the Ministry of Health currently standing at 7. And staying with the capital, we are now joined by my colleague Kennedy Morethi. Kennedy, the city has seen fumigation. What are the residents saying, and is this something that is being viewed positively?
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Gladys, there in studio. And Nairobi today morning, as you've rightly said, is that it was being fumigated, but the effects of the coronavirus and what it is doing to the business community is actually taking a toll on what is happening here in the city. The numbers as we came in the morning, as we were coming to work, were not so many, but as it approached 12 o'clock this afternoon, there has been quite some activity that is building up as people are now coming out. Remember, the government has asked people to stay at home if it is possible, and people could actually work from home. And what we are noticing right now, I am at the Moi lane here, just a few meters from this, from our office, and I am here at the Matatu stage for number 44, and some of them have actually been speaking to. Everybody who's coming into the Matatus is actually being sanitized, and they have this particular bottles that they are using to sanitize each and every person is coming in. But even as they do that, there is this fear. Je, nyinyi vile mnaendelea, wateja wanakuja ama idadi ya watu ambao wanakuja kutumia hizi matatu, watu wanakuja kama vile walikuwa wanakuja ama idadi imepungua?
Kwa majina anaitwa James Mumelo. Kweli idadi ya watu ambao wanakuja kwa matatu imepunguka kabisa, na naona dhuru hali sekta ya matatu.
Sijui kama kwa saa kama hii mlikuwa mnabeba watu wangapi, na hiyo idadi imepungua kivipi? Labda ni asilimia kubwa ama vipi?
Kwa sasa imedhuru asilimia karibu 70, kwa sababu saa hizi naona idadi ambayo iko matatu inakaa kwa stage kwa muda mrefu sana, na kuondoka unachukua karibu masaa mawili katika stage.
So kwa hivyo ulikuwa unakaa kama muda gapi ndio ikafika mpaka masaa mawili hivi?
Hapo kitambo tulikuwa tunakaa karibu dakika 10-15 hivi na gari inajaa. Lakini kwa sasa unaona ni karibu masaa mawili tunakaa katika stage.
Je, kuna kitu kingine ambacho kimeathirika kibiashara tangu huu shughuli ya ama ugonjwa huu wa corona ukafika hapa nchini?
Hakuna pesa, hadi kila mtu analia njaa. Unaweza enda na nyumbani na 200 na uligomezoea dhao. Hiyo nyumba inataka kulipwa, unaumia sana.
Well, those are some of the sentiments that are coming from the Matatu operators. And it's not just the Matatu operators. There are businesses along this lane. And most of them right now, we spoke to them, not so many want to speak on camera, but they're even saying that the businesses that they are doing right now, not so many people are coming as they expected. There were numbers that were actually streaming in, and the numbers that are coming in right now are not so many. Even those who are even coming to town are saying, even the Matatu operators who we spoke to before we started this live interview, are saying that the time they are taking to come from their destinations to town is not as much as it was right now. They are taking so little time as they are coming into town. That is an indication that there is no traffic jam and all that. So there is that effect that is starting to take on businesses. I remember yesterday when we had an interview or a press conference with the Cabinet Secretary for Health, that is Mutahi Kagwe, said that they are not going to stop everything at once, but they are scaling down. And this one now seems to be taking that toll on businesses, and the Matatu sector, which is one of those sectors that is actually mostly going to be affected, is already feeling that particular hit. When the driver says that they're taking 2 hours to fill one particular vehicle at a time when they were taking 15 minutes, and this means that it is actually taking that toll. We are going around the town just to make sure that everything is either going on as normal, or just to talk to these business people to know what kind of businesses they are making right now, and if they're incurring these losses. Remember, the government has actually called on everybody to prepare themselves. We do not know. I also remember yesterday the CS said that a shutdown or a complete shutdown is something that is already on the table of government. Whether it is going to happen, it is only something that we can only wait to see. But right now, my camera person Wamboi and I will be going through town just to hear, just to feel the effects of those who are trading, the people who are actually trading, and everybody else, and what it really means with this coronavirus scare that we have in the country. Back to you, Gladys, in studio.
Thank you, Kennedy Murithi. Even as he transverses the streets of Nairobi County, to be specific, Nairobi City, and he is telling us the effects of COVID-19 and the reality of the same on transport and trade. And he'll be giving us more of the same even as we continue with this broadcast and other broadcasts in the course of the day. Now, the head of public service, that is Joseph Kenywa, has asked government officials to release all ethanol that had been held in government facilities to be released to the Kenya Pipeline Company to boost the manufacturing of hand sanitizers for free public distribution. Under the new project, KPC is expected to liaise with the oil industry players who have expressed willingness to produce the sanitizers for the expedited manufacture and distribution. Kenywa has also asked KPC to implement an accountability framework to ensure that the ethanol is utilized for the manufacture and distribution of sanitizers only. With the demand for the commodity going up whilst the supply is low, the prices have soared over the last week, with some Kenyans crossing the border into Uganda to purchase it. A look at the transport sector, and the Transport Ministry has urged public transport operators to implement and adhere to all measures, guidelines and requirements directed by the government on mitigating the spread of coronavirus in the country through the transport system. Some of those include regularly cleaning their vehicles and providing sanitizers for passengers, limiting use of cash and promoting cashless systems, and general behavioral change among the crew. A spot check by NTV in different matatu stages, however, revealed that the guidelines were only being observed partially, with implementation efforts largely negated by the chaotic nature of Kenya's transport system.
That there are in excess of 2 million journeys every day into Nairobi City, with half of the journeys being undertaken using public transport, we have gathered here to demonstrate our solidarity to advocate for a radical behavior transformation that will resonate with His Excellency, our President's call to curb the spread of COVID-19, otherwise popularly known as coronavirus.
One, we know very well that at bus stops and bus stations and public places, there is no water. We still insist that that is not a role of private sector. We need water for sanitation and washing hands as nearest as possible. We also know that there are sanitizers that are on the market that are not certified, and we are very worried that government must be able to allow us purchase sanitizers that are certified and that we know they are going to do the job.
Elsewhere, Busia County Commissioner John Kanyiri has refuted claims by a section of the public that the Busia and Malaba borders have been closed following reported cases of the virus in the country. The commissioner says the two border points remain functional as usual until the state issues a directive to close them. The commissioners noted that the Kenya and Uganda depend on each other, and therefore the need for joint mutual discussion on measures to ensure safety of all the people using the borders. He has, however, challenged Kenyans who cross over to Uganda to practice social distancing as a precautionary measure.
Tukipata haya maagizo kwa serikali, jinsi hali inavyoendelea kuwa, pengine hapo ndio mpaka unaweza ukafungwa. Lakini kwa sasa wafanyabiashara waendelee na shughuli zao za kawaida, biashara dogo au kubwa. Tunajua tunakutegemeana kwingi kwa maisha yetu sisi East African community. Tunanunua matunda, mandizi, mayai, na bidhaa zingine kutoka Uganda, nao wanapata mafuta yao kutoka huko. Kwa sasa hatuwezi amurisha funga mpaka jirani.
Staying with the imminent threat of COVID-19, banks have begun engaging clients on relief measures to be undertaken in light of the adverse effects the spread of the coronavirus is having on the business environment. This comes just a day after the Central Bank, the Office of the President, and the Kenya Bankers Association made public plans to extend moratoria to borrowers who may be unable to meet their loan repayment obligations. Standard Chartered Bank CEO Kariuki Ngari says these measures will also take into consideration the impact being borne by banks.
We want to work with clients to understand and see how we can help them through this situation. It's not possible to give a blanket moratorium because every individual client is different. They've got very different requirements. So we're having those conversations with the individual clients, whether it's on retail for personal customers or mortgages. What are they going through, or what help do they need? And if it's corporate, also how do we help them? Because we are conscious of the supply chain has completely been disrupted.
We have a lot more stories coming your way. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
New Blue Band peanut butter. Made with 100% pure peanuts. And a good source of omega-6. Grow healthy and happy kids with New Blue Band peanut butter.
Together stay free whatever ends. No, we can't stop. We wanna taste the feeling. Nothing can ever bring us down. Taste the feeling.
Mom! You wretched liar! Mom! You almost killed my mother just because of that notebook!
Mom, stop it! And what exactly did you mean when you said that she almost died because of it?
Mom and I are just concerned, since your life was endangered because of that ledger.
Ma'am. You have to go, ma'am.
Hands up!
Sour Shower has never been better with the new look Sour. Now with a new formulation too that will leave you feeling fresh for longer, while the soap lasts even longer.
Now more than ever, you need to be abreast with the daily happenings wherever you are. Get the Daily Nation e-paper with a free COVID-19 newsletter at a special highly discounted rate of Kenya shillings 500 for a period of 1 month. Daily Nation. News anytime, anywhere.
Thank you for staying with us. We still keep an eye on the imminent threat of COVID-19, and Wajir residents received with mixed reactions Governor Mohamed Abdi's announcement to ban the sale and transportation of miraa in the country. This as the government put Wajir in a list of 14 high-risk counties for the spread of COVID-19 since the country shares, or rather the county shares, international borders with Ethiopia and Somalia, which have both reported cases of the virus.
Wajir consumes an average of 6,000 kilograms of miraa. Business people approximate that 600,000 Kenyan shillings is traded on a daily basis.
Miraa iko shida mingi, watu yote unaharibika. Unaona ile watu kidogo yote usiku hata saa 7 ya usiku kama unatembea kwa barabara, unalala kwa kiwanja sababu ya miraa. Kichwa yako hauifanya kazi mzuri. Alafu maneno ni hivyo.
Corona is infectious. It can come anyway. There's so many infectious diseases like TB. Has ever been there? So why did not ban the miraa? Because there was TB, there was other infectious diseases. You know, Corona is, I think it's a hoax.
Business people claim that hundreds of people involved in the sale and transportation of the commodity risk losing an income. The governor argues that losses are expected in all sectors during the pandemic.
Of course, we have given some deadline, but that deadline can be again extended depending on when you hear schools are going to be opened. That is the time miraa will be opened also. Yeah, because they go together.
Our aerial surveillance teams, our county security teams at the borderline will be on 24/7 vigilance to ensure that no foreign vehicles, whether Kenyan registered or otherwise, will be left undetected and checked for that matter.
Wajir is likely to witness a cat and mouse chase between miraa traders and law enforcement officers in the next few days as the officers on ground implement the governor's directive on the ban.
Governor Abdi has further suspended learning of madrasas and duxis as part of the county's 10-point measure to minimize the spread of the deadly virus. The governor also led the county security committee in a tour of the COVID-19 isolation facility, which has an 8-bed capacity. Nurtin Almoge, NTV, Wajir County.
To Embu County, and prisoners at the Embu GK prison are asking the government to consider releasing inmates who have served long sentences as a way of decongesting the prisons. The prisoners hold that although cancellation of visitations in the prison hit them hard, they are aware of the advantages of that, as that will help keep coronavirus away from the prisons. They have called upon the government to come up with ways to deal with overpopulation in the prisons, and unnecessary gatherings within the prison have been minimized, and prisoners have been taught proper hygiene and provided with hand sanitizers. To some county politics, and the Jubilee Party has effected leadership changes in the Taraka Nithi County Assembly owing to members' dissatisfaction with the outgoing team. According to a majority of the MCAs who had complained to the party, the outgoing leadership was serving their own interests and had created a rift between the House and the Assembly.
As county assemblies were breaking for 2 weeks occasioned by the fast spreading coronavirus, the County Assembly of Taraka Nithi had urgent matters to attend to before proceeding on recess. Among the issues on the list was a communication from the Speaker that entailed a change in the House leadership and a communique from the Jubilee Party. There was hue and cry from the outgoing team as they argued the move to eject them was tantamount to a coup effected by the MCAs in close consultations with the executive.
There is a case pending in court, and Honorable Speaker, I believe that we have also a claim that we have launched with the Jubilee Party. I don't believe that there is any communication that is supposed to be brought in this House, Honorable Speaker, having not been communicated to the leadership of this House, Honorable Speaker.
However, their cries fell on deaf ears as the Speaker insisted the communication came from their sponsoring party and had no option other than to abide.
Honorable Peterson Muligi Kadenya is the newly elected Jubilee Party leader of the majority. 2, Honorable Asunta Gabriel, deputy leader of the majority party. 3, Honorable Boniface Ajeri Kegwari, majority party whip. And 4, Samuel Mudeni Karangi, deputy majority party whip.
The new leadership, according to the Jubilee communique, has the task of bridging the gap that has seen the relationship between the executive and the assembly strained, but also keep the relationship professional.
The reason that I fight for this House, it is for its independence and separation of powers from the executive and the assembly. And I believe the day that we realize how strong we are as this assembly, Honorable Speaker, it is when the Taraka Nithi people will benefit.
Kama wakati tulikuwa tunachaguana, tunaleta majina ya wale members ambao watakuwa kwa house business leadership. Unapata kwamba consult amongst us, consult, yani naenda kufanya mambo ya chama peke yake.
Japo watu wameketi mahali wakasikia kuwa haujawapeleka vizuri uongozini na waamue kuchukua mkondo mpya, usije ukaanza kujaribu kuingisha siasa za kuwa unatolewa kwa kiti sababu ulifanya jambo fulani, na wewe kuna wakati ulitoa mwingine na ukakataa kuwa hukuwa umeongwa ama huku umepewa bahasha ama huku umeambiwa.
Nayoma Sampao, NTV.
Across the borders now, and travelers in different parts of the globe are racing to find a way to their home countries after nations began closing their borders. Here's a look at how Africa and the world are keeping safe.
Sub-Saharan Africa's weeks-long reprieve from the fatal impact of the coronavirus came to an end today as Burkina Faso announced the death of a 62-year-old woman who had been suffering from diabetes. Burkina Faso has so far reported 7 new infections, increasing its total to 27. Africa has lagged behind the global curve for coronavirus infections and deaths, but there has been a significant rise in cases in the past few days. Experts have repeatedly warned about the perils for the continent given its weak health infrastructure, poverty, conflicts, poor sanitation and urban crowding. South Africa, the continent's most industrialized economy, reported 31 new infections, bringing its tally to 116. Nearby, Zambia also announced its first 2 confirmed cases. As of today, the reported cases in Africa stand at 576. The figures are, however, considered comparatively small compared to the rest of the world. The global death toll has passed 8,000 with nearly 200,000 total infections. The most affected economic activity so far is air traffic. Some countries such as Somalia, Chad, Guinea-Bissau and most recently the island of Madagascar have moved to shut all airports and stop all flights into their countries. Nigeria, which has not yet recorded an infection, has closed borders and schools for 2 weeks. The Libyan government has also declared a curfew in all cities and towns from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. as Uganda also shuts down learning institutions, bars, weddings and funerals for 30 days, although they have recorded 0 cases so far. Senegal has the most confirmed cases in West Africa with 27, while in the East, 23 cases have been reported in 6 countries, including Ethiopia and Kenya. The African continent has unrivaled experience in dealing with outbreaks of contagious diseases from Ebola, malaria and measles to cholera and HIV. In Europe, Italy still tops as the death toll mounts to slightly above 2,500. The mortuary rooms of hospitals can no longer contain all the coffins. Russia has also announced that coronavirus cases have jumped almost 29% overnight to 147.
Back in the country and to another menace, and the Locust invasion persists in Garissa County, threatening the county's food security. The locals are now calling for urgent measures to remedy the situation.
Following the invasion of Locust, small-scale farmers in Taleh Sankuri Ward in Balambala sub-county are still working together to stop destructive pests.
Kwa hivyo tumeshughulika tu kupatia shamba maji hakuna. Kukata matunda ya kupeleka watoto riziki hakuna, kwenda hata hospitali hakuna. Tumekuwa tu sasa taabu tu ya kuangalia kulinda tu yeye na kuzuia.
The farmers say the pest has destroyed lemon and mango farms. They say the destruction has left over 60 farmers who depend on the crop in serious distress.
Matarajio yetu ya mwezi wa 9 ya kufuna limu na mihembe hatutarajii. Juzi tulikuwa watu wako ni imani ya kurekebisha kila hali yao, lakini sasa hivi tumekuwa miskini kabisa, tumekuwa miskini.
The farmers battling the locust are facing bigger health risks as they do not have any protective gear while spraying chemicals in the fields.
Shida iliyoko, gloves hakuna, overall ya kuzuia dawa hakuna, kioo ya kuweka macho hakuna. Watu wengine haujui hata namna ya kuspray dawa, anamaika mwili yake yote.
Already tumbo zinatuuma, kichwa inatuuma. Wengine saizi wako hospitali, wengine saizi matumbo zimefura.
The farmers are appealing to the government and well-wishers to supply them with more chemicals and protective gear in order to fight the invasive insects.
Serikali tunaomba kila bahali balibo asaidiwe sisi helikopta ya kuspray.
Salah Mohammed, NTV, Garissa County.
Even as we prepare ourselves to protect ourselves from the imminent COVID-19 reality and threat, those are farmers who are asking the government not to forget that there is another menace that is actually really giving them a hard time. That is the Locust invasion. We keep an eye on both those situations and many others across the country, and we'll be giving you more details in our subsequent bulletins. My name is Gladys Gashanje. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
This is NTV.